Hi, we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, we are live on LinkedIn, and as always, there'll be like a 30-second delay before anyone actually realizes. So we need to find a better way to fill this gap, probably. But here we are again. It's Thursday, it's 12 noon, and the Green Umbrella team are all here, correct and present, to have a little discussion over the social media updates, the trends, the changes, the annoyances, the niggles, and all that kind of thing from the last couple of weeks. So how are we all doing, guys?
Good. I think we need a jingle. That's what I've decided. You said we needed to fill the time. Oh, I was talking about the podcast. Well, they have a jingle, so we need a jingle. We could all sing something.
Yeah, go on then, Emily.
I'll sing on a recording.
So yeah, just whilst we were getting comfortable and getting ready to go, we were talking about podcast, and Emily was saying that obviously, with me launching my podcast, and it's been a hot topic of late, and Emily was just saying she's just started listening to a podcast. You're going to do a quick review for us, Emily?
No, I can't. It's far too rude for this. I've been listening to Chris Ramsey and Rosie Ramsey's podcast, which isn't new. I think they're about 85 episodes in, maybe. Anyway, I'm on episode 15, and it's great. I haven't really been on board with podcasts up until, obviously, Christina did her podcast, and then I was like, okay, I need to try listening to some more. So yeah, it's just really funny. They talk about, they have this section called What's Your Beef? And it's basically where, like, obviously because they're married, if there's anything that's annoyed them about the other person in that week, they air it on the podcast, and that's their beef. So they each have, like, Chris has his beef, and then Rosie has her beef. So that's really funny. And then they have people that write in with, like, questions or dilemmas, which can be anything. If you've listened to it, I'm not going to repeat it, but it's funny. And then they have a celebrity question at the end. It just really makes me laugh. It's just funny. It's one of those things you can sort of have on in the background. You don't really need to listen to it, but you can kind of tune in and out. And yeah, it's great. So I'd recommend.
Podcast is a massive treasure. Any of, like, loads of people are getting into podcasting right now. Do any of the others, any of you listening to podcasts at the minute?
I do, but not work related either. So anything cricket and rugby.
Of course.
I listen to some. So mixture. So occasionally we'll dip into some work ones. Obviously, Christina Talks is a highly recommended podcast. What else? Off Menu, that's a really good one. That's quite a comedy one as well. So it's Ed Gamble and James Acaster. You go into a fictional restaurant and you can order anything you want. So if it was kind of if it was like your last meal or dream meal, you can have anything you want. But that's very funny.
That sounds great. Well, so talk about that.
Yeah, so you can be like, right, Emily,
I would like that. I love food, so
what are you going to have? And they have all sorts of guests in there. So yeah,
cool.
It's very funny. It's very funny.
I tell you another one that I was listening to that's really good is Giovanna. I'm going to say it wrong. Giovanna Fletcher. Happy Mum, Happy Baby. It's a very popular one. But it's sort of, so I don't have children, and but I think it's funny. It's quite, you don't have to listen to it if you're a mum, basically, or if you're a dad. It's just, they sort of tell funny stories. They have celebrity guests on there. They had I'm going to embarrass myself now, but I've forgotten her name. David Cameron's wife,
Samantha.
Samantha, yeah, that was it. And she was on it. It was actually really interesting. She was talking about sort of like the White House. She was talking about number 10. And she was sort of saying about well, I do know. And she was saying about her son. I think it was her son that passed away, which I didn't know about. So it was really interesting. Like I said, they don't just talk about what it's like to be a mum or a dad, but they do talk about other things and sort of parenting and how your upbringing can affect your parenting and stuff. So it's quite interesting.
There's so many podcasts. Work-wise, Selling Without Sleaze, Coffee with Dan, which are kind of more marketing-y ones. They're not specifically social media, but
I love Dan Meredith. I find him really entertaining as well. Yeah,
he's a tad testosterone-y for me. It's all it's all kind of there's lots of just effing do it, and I'm going balls out with something. So
balls deep.
Oh, why is it always about balls?
I'm pleased now, Amanda, because you've embarrassed yourself too. But can I just say, I do know the difference between the White House and 10 Downing Street. Thank you very much. I'm going to leave.
One's white. That's what you're going to say, isn't it?
I was going to say I've been to both.
I've been to the White House.
I've been to the White House, and it was when it was So Christina's like, Emily, can you shut up? It was when it was the snowstorm. What was that called? There was a name for it. And the whole of Washington shut down, and I was there.
From the east.
Are you sure you weren't watching the film?
No. I was on the news.
Okay. Before Emily embarrasses herself any further, let's get into things. So, probably one of the reasons that we're a little on the giddy side today is that the last couple of weeks in the social media world, it's been really frustrating. Everything keeps changing. All the platforms are they're like rolling out update after it's like update over update over update. And I don't know about you guys, but it's just driving me insane. It's like whether I'm logging into Facebook or LinkedIn or MailChimp, there's like something's changed. The interface is different. And it's like you go to click somewhere and, trying to get into Ads Manager is all of a sudden, it takes you 10 minutes to find it. Or, I find it really easy. And then Amanda's got, when she clicks on the same option, she gets something completely different. And it is so frustrating at the minute. Mm-hmm. How have you guys found things? What are the new things that you've spotted? What are the what kinds of things are we getting asked about at the minute that people can't find?
You're right. It is. It's been really frustrating. I think, we've all been crazy busy. Throughout 2020, throughout lockdown, particularly in the last few weeks. I think, as we said, that's why we were a bit giddy, because we haven't really had a good catch up for a while. So this is the first time, we've had a chance to catch up and have a good chat. But some of the changes are just taking up more time as you go and look and find things. So Facebook have changed their interface. As you say, in Ads Manager. So what looks, your interface is different to my interface. So if somebody rings with a query and says, I can't find where I get my pixel code, for example, it's not like you can talk them through it from memory. You can't say, right, click that button and go here. You have to do a screen share and then walk them through it. So it's just more time consuming. We've had people in our GU coaching group. So we have a Facebook closed group for anyone who's a coaching client, saying, oh my God, what's going on with Facebook? What about the pages feed? So when you're interacting as your business with other pages and businesses, that's gone. So there's a news feed in its place, but it's just not as interactive. It doesn't present you with the things you want to engage with. So I found that frustrating, and I've had clients come back and say, what's going on with it? It's a bit of a headache. So, and a lot of the time we don't get any warning, do we? So even though we're on the ball with all the social media news and look at the releases, it's not like they tell you it's coming. So one day you'll just log in and everything's changed.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we do generally get some sort of warning, but the problem is it's so long between the warning and it actually rolling out. So like the latest Facebook interface, the fact that the whole layout was going to be changed, it was going to be more like the mobile experience, etc. I think we had that notification probably about 12 months ago, if not longer. And there's been times where it's been rolled out and pulled back and rolled out and pulled back, and now it is kind of, I think we're doing the deadline, aren't we? Before you're kind of forced to go with the new normal. You won't have that option anymore to revert. Jane, I know you were involved in a conversation in the coaching group, or perhaps one of the other Facebook groups we're part of, and you were saying you think from a user perspective, it's actually, although it's really annoying from a business marketing perspective, but from a user perspective, you think it's a bit better.
I quite like it, actually. I mean, it's funny because I'd forgotten what the old one looked like, and then I had a chance to look at it again, and I thought, God, yeah, I'd forgotten what it looked like. And now I feel it's a lot more intuitive to me personally where to find everything. But then as a business, you can't find anything anywhere. Nothing works properly. I created an event the other day and it didn't invite anyone. And, there seems to be no reason behind some of these things that just don't work. And it's like they've sort of rolled it out, but without the back end being ready and without thinking about some of the actions that people actually take.
I think the frustration is when everyone has different things though, so I don't think mine's fully updated yet to the newer version, and it's just quite difficult, say if I'm trying to explain something to Jane or Jane's trying to explain something to me and I don't know what she's talking about because I haven't really seen it and she can't remember what mine looks like. I think that happens quite a lot. We have that with clients quite a lot as well, where we're trying to explain something to them and we're like, well, you might have this version or you might have this version or here's another version that you possibly may have. It's so complicated.
Do you know, it is, and it's like, obviously we can share screens and that kind of thing, but sometimes it's just a case of, right, you've clicked on that button, now tell me what's on your screen. Can you see anything that's using this word? Okay, brilliant, click on that. And it's kind of, it's this, I guess we know the language of Facebook, so therefore we're kind of going, right, where are they going to put it? It's going to be there or there or there. And it's almost like potluck, really, whether you get it right first time or third time. But yeah, I know the first couple of weeks, it was like nobody could find Ads Manager. People were literally just like Google searching Facebook Ads Manager to get through it that way. So it was, just an absolute nightmare. And then we started to see, obviously Facebook announced Business Suite, which if you have been using the Facebook Pages Manager app, Business Suite essentially is going to replace that. And if you've not been using Business Manager, again, Business Suite that's going to be the tool you use. But it's a bit grey because it's separate to your Ads Manager as well. That's still going to stay in Business Manager. And it's like all this stuff. And you know that they're rolling this out in a way so that they can streamline things later. But right now, it just feels so messy.
Yeah, I think there's like so many options and so many ways to do the same thing, especially across the different versions. And I think, like you said, Christina, hopefully once it's all sort of fully rolled out and everyone's on the same version, it is going to make it simpler. But at this point in time, it does seem very confusing, and especially confusing. If it's confusing for us, imagine how it is for us trying to explain to somebody who doesn't know it as well as we do.
So I guess what I'd say is that if you are battling with Facebook, if you've been like yesterday, for example, there were massive issues with something called Creator Studio, which a lot of people will be using to schedule their posts, schedule their videos through Facebook for both Facebook and Instagram. If you're having these problems, be patient. I promise it's temporary, because it's always temporary. And there's live chat on our website. Just come and ask us. It's like we're all feeling the same frustration, and it's a couple of minutes out of our day to help you find that one button that's actually, we talk to people that they've spent 2 hours trying to do something. Well, actually, if we can spend 2 minutes for you and it's done and it's resolved, then that's not a lot of time out of our day, and it's a lot less stress for you. So stick with it and use us when you need to use us on that front. But like I said, the changes have gone, they're not just on Facebook. So we had some changes rolled out on LinkedIn as well in terms of the interface there, and MailChimp as well over the last couple of weeks. That has been changes there rolling out. So normally you'd get your menu along the top on MailChimp. For some people now, they're logging in, that menu's completely changed. It's going down the left-hand side. It's all kind of pictorial. It's all like icons. You've got like a megaphone for your campaigns. There's this little weird blobby thing that's supposed to be for people that I think once you realise it represents audience, you're kind of looking at it going, what the hell is that supposed to be? I've
been in MailChimp today. We haven't conferred about this, but I had exactly the same thought process. Was, what is that supposed to be? Oh, they're people. Okay.
It was words. Words are fine. Audience campaign.
Yeah. So it's like I said, and the problem is, it's almost like, what would be a good analogy? I don't know. It's almost like a classroom scenario. Someone comes in with like the new look, and then all of a sudden everyone else wants to like copy the look or copy the trends, and so actually we end up with all these changes all at the same time. I always say I don't want to describe myself as an expert because things can change so rapidly. Okay. And, it's like the carpet gets pulled out from us all the time. When I first saw that new layout on MailChimp, I was going into a coaching call with someone middle of last week. I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday of last week. So, okay, log into your MailChimp account then. And they logged in with a screen shared with me. And I went, oh, crap. I don't know where anything is now, and it's like, we're working on this live, and so, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about that word expert, because I just feel like I'm really, really knowledgeable. I know I'm knowledgeable, and I know I've got all the ideas and everything else, but actually this is an industry. It's so hard to kind of actually say, yeah, I know everything in, but yeah, so I'm very aware we're live streaming this on LinkedIn. And when you're live streaming on LinkedIn, you're not supposed to talk about LinkedIn. Did you know that's one of the rules?
Really?
No.
Yeah. You're not allowed to live stream on, you're not supposed to live stream on LinkedIn and talk about using LinkedIn. It's true. You're looking at me.
What's the rationale behind that? Is that because they want to steer you towards their training programs, or? Probably.
I think it's about, they want people to deliver valuable content. Obviously, there's some exceptions to that, but
there's heaps of value in everything we do.
Absolutely.
Right to them, Amanda.
A strongly worded letter.
The reason I mention it is that there are, and I know, Emily, you want to talk about something that's sort of related to this, but just before we get into that, there are some changes that have been announced on LinkedIn Messenger. Okay, so one of my frustrations is that it's really hard to like bulk delete messages, and my LinkedIn Messenger it's so full and things get lost in there all the time. And, if I could pin messages, or if I could just get rid of the noise in just a few moments rather than having to go through message by message by message. Every time someone connects with you, if they personalize it, it creates a new message stream, and it gets really messy. So they've announced that they're rolling out the ability to bulk edit and clean up your inbox. The messages you send, you'll be able to kind of reply in almost like when you reply in a thread kind of way on WhatsApp or on Facebook Messenger, you can do the same thing. We'll now be able to do that on LinkedIn. You'll be able to edit your messages. So all those typos, everyone knows I go a million miles an hour. My spelling and grammar is really good, but I can't type for toffee. So all those little, I send a message and I think, oh God, well, it's been seen now. Can't change that. I'll be able to edit them going forward. But I haven't got this yet. So I was testing it with Amanda. And there is a really, really funny video. If you want to reach out to me, I will share this video with you. We need to get it edited because there's a few swear words along the way. But essentially, I was testing it with Amanda. And then, you've got the automatic responses. I thought I'd see how long it would take Amanda to notice that I was sending her the automatic responses. It's hilarious. It's so funny, the conversation you then go on to have. And I'm screen recording but capturing the sound as well. And I get to a point where I'm actually hyperventilating. It's like you can hear me wheezing. I'm laughing so hard. But the story behind that, it's a really funny video. Reach out to me. I'll happily share it with you. Amanda's given me permission now. So
I have, well, because it started off, I wasn't having a great day at the time. I just had one of those days where it's like, computer wasn't playing, software was being a pain in the what's it. So I thought you'd started just genuinely reaching out to me, going, how are you? It was a bit like, having a whinge. And then I thought, well, this is a bit rude. Some of the replies, she's quite abrupt, isn't she?
I
did cotton on.
I don't think I would have gotten on so fast. Christina's quite often very abrupt.
Thanks, Emily.
I said to you, don't invite me on live lunch today, Christina. I'm really not. I'm far too hyperactive for this.
So let's tap into that hyperactivity then, Emily. What news have you got to share?
My news. Now, I do have notes, which I'm going to try and say it without the notes, but I do know I'm going to have to click into the notes at the end because it's a new announcement. But Facebook is integrating Instagram Direct and Messenger. So the goal eventually, I believe, is to integrate that with WhatsApp as well, although they're not doing that at the moment. And also, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I think that will be, that to me, that'd be a bit confusing. But anyway, so they're saying, okay, I'm going to have to get my notes, sorry. At the moment, you can only cross message and you'll be able to see your messenger threads in Instagram Direct. But Instagram messages will only be available in Instagram. And then they're also updating a few new functions within Messenger as well. So these include, now this is why I knew I was going to need the list, safe selfie stickers, watch together. So Instagram users will now be able to join watch together video co-watching parties via Messenger. Vanish mode, so where the person automatically, as soon as the person sees the message, that message is removed, it vanishes. Chat colors, custom emoji reactions, and there'll be more message controls as well. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. I don't know. I mean, I get the premise behind it. I get the idea of having everything in one place. And what they were basically saying is that there's so many messaging platforms that people sometimes don't know where to go to get to find a specific thread. So I do understand that. But for me, my WhatsApp is very personal messages, whereas my Instagram necessarily isn't always personal. It might be another Instagram account that randomly messaged me, or I don't know.
Fans on Instagram, isn't it?
My fans, popular lady. So yeah, I don't know. I think that would be confusing if they then integrate that. It depends how it works. If your WhatsApp messages are then showing in Messenger, or are they going to have all your social media messages within WhatsApp? I don't know.
So the ultimate plan, so they kind of announced last year that they were going to, in 2020, create a situation where you, as a user, you would use your messaging app of choice. So you don't even need to have one app on the phone, and all those messages would come into that one place for you. So if I live in WhatsApp, but you live in Instagram, well, I'm using WhatsApp to talk to you, but you're receiving all those messages in Instagram because that's where you live. That's your platform of choice. So I think it makes a lot of sense that they're kind of taking the walls down in this way. But again, it's like we said about these changes, we're going to be in this sort of messy situation. So they're not bringing WhatsApp into the picture at all right now. And I think they've said they can't quite work out how to do that right now, probably for the reasons you've just mentioned, and that people think of WhatsApp as being a more kind of secure way of talking anyway. So I think that's where the difficulty is going to be there. But right now, as I understand it, and you're totally right, Emily, this stuff's kind of I've probably read more about this morning than I have done in the last sort of 48 hours, because it's only just started to come out. But the experience is going to be right now is that from Facebook Messenger, I could send Mark a message that he receives in Instagram. Yeah.
So that's basically what they said. You can cross message, but you can't. At the moment, you can't see your Instagram messages in Facebook. Yeah, that's it. But I think it's the stages, and that's kind of what you were saying, Christina, is that it's going to be very confusing at the beginning because they're doing it in little bits. And I know obviously they kind of have to do it in that way, but it's all a bit all over the place for me, I think.
So they've said this there. They've launched it in a couple of countries. I haven't seen which countries yet. But like I said, they've announced that this was happening last year. So I don't think it'll be too much longer. What was interesting though, and I actually wasn't going to talk about it, so I'm glad you brought it up. But some of the, things like the vanishing message Well, that's like a Snapchat thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, so that made sense. But color coding the messages that you send as well, I'm like, I don't know why people are going to do that.
You say that, but I think I might try it. The reason being is that, so my friend sent me a YouTube video the other day, and I won't show it because it's obviously her phone, but she'd changed all the colors of her, what they called like app icons. So they were all one color scheme, and she'd like really tidied up her phone screen. And I just think it looked really cool. So I was thinking, oh, I want to try that. And then if you could then also match that with the colors of your messages, that's cool. That's cool.
But in the scenario, it's like if I sent a message saying, like, let's say I sent a nice message to you and I coloured it pink because it was a nice message. And then the next message I sent to you was, God, it's cold today, Emily, and I colour that blue. It's kind of, I don't get why people would, like, individual messages they send have, like, why would you take the time to set?
But does it not mean that you just have one colour? I might have understood that wrong. I thought it meant you just had one colour that you could choose for all of your messages that you send to anybody.
With the screenshots I've seen, it's like different messages, different colours.
Yeah, I
wouldn't
set
do that. Per person though, or something like that, to like.
I don't know at this point.
To sort of tidy up your inbox.
You could have red for all the people you don't like. I'd be like, I've got a red come through.
Or if you're in a bad mood or something.
Yeah.
A red mood today, don't talk to her. Green is good, green for go.
Yeah.
So Mark, what have you seen over the last couple of weeks that's something a bit different, or a change you've noticed?
Well, I did actually notice today that my Pages app has updated to the new one, which I can't remember what it's actually called.
Business Suite.
That's it. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to have a look at the app, but I'd imagine that again changes everything on the mobile side of things as well then.
Yeah. So I think we've had a couple of things, haven't we, with, again, glitch-wise, with sort of from a design and branding perspective, where like, are we looking at changing sizes of posts again, or cover photos, cover videos? Have we had some issues there with uploads as well?
The main thing we've seen is the videos, I think, on Facebook, where a normal sort of 16:9 HD sort of video doesn't actually work very well anymore. So the videos need to be sized. I can't recall exactly what size it is, but it's like it's almost, it is quite a rectangular sort of thinner shape. And to make it work, sort of fill the whole area on a business page, it seems to have to be that.
Amanda's trying not to laugh because the dog's just come in.
Just jumped on.
It looked like Amanda had a wagging tail.
Really excited.
Ooh, Facebook videos.
Sorry.
Yeah, so what we're thinking at the minute, are people better to go with sort of static images rather than videos, and then sort of try again in a few weeks once things settle down, or? Yeah,
maybe we had trouble even uploading things a couple of weeks ago, but that at least seems to have settled down now. But I mean, I've seen certainly bigger brands that haven't sort of updated their videos, and you can see it sort of sitting in the middle of a page with gaps at the edges, sort of thing. It's one of those things. It's not a great, when every video is taken in a certain proportion, it doesn't make much sense to force it to be something that people can't easily create. That's a bit of a weird one. But yeah, images are fine. Images, seem to work. You're still on there. So yeah, it will be one of those ones where we'll have to leave it, I think, like you say, a few weeks and see what settles down. Will they do what they did before? Because even on the old size, you could sort of use a standard size video and it would view differently on desktop and mobile. Whereas this one is, it's definitely sort of chopping bits off. Well, not chopping bits off, but just not using the whole header area, basically.
Cool. Jane, we were talking about some of the Facebook advertising changes, and there's sort of one change in particular we were quite sort of interested by, and had a little bit of a. Again, we're really sad when some of this stuff happens, and we send each other excited messages. So yeah, over to you.
Yeah, basically, the most exciting thing that's happened to Facebook advertising in years is that they have now got rid of you having a limit of 20% text on images in your adverts. We've posted about this on our page and in our groups a little bit recently, but it's one of those things that it's held us back for so long, because a lot of images we maybe create for clients or for ourselves, they might be on a branded template, they've got a little bar at the bottom that might have a company name on and a logo, and all of those things were counting against you if you tried to use that kind of image in an advert. And then of course, if you wanted to put something else in there, like special offer or other text, you just limit yourself even further. Facebook had a sort of little grid thing that you could put over it, and you could sort of count the number of squares that had text in and sort of work out whether you were below it or above. So they tried to help you, but it was just a long time ago your ad wouldn't run at all. And then I think in 2018 your ad would run, but only to a limited audience. And then you would constantly get messages, your ad's not performing because you've got too much text in there. Sometimes we'd have to run them anyway because there was just no choice, and accept the fact that they weren't going anywhere. But now that's gone. Facebook still says try to keep it low, try to keep your message clear and concise, which makes sense. People don't want to read an essay when they see an advert. But it's just brilliant. We can just have a bit more freedom to actually put what we want in an image.
And I think because it was all kind of machine led as well, maybe you had a stock photo that had a street sign in the background, let's say. Yeah. Well, that's not text in. Okay, yes, it's text, but it's not, by Facebook's rules, it's not what they would count as text on your image. But then the machine side of it that was deciding whether you were above or below the 20% text rule would read that as text. Same with book covers. So if you're looking at promoting sort of, down like white papers, guides, playbooks, that kind of content where, your lead generation content, if you put the cover of the book or the cover of the guide in that image, it would include the text on that book, even though Facebook's guidelines say, oh no, we don't include that. But that would then get picked up in the AI, if you like, and then your advert wouldn't run. It was just so annoying. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how much ads change over the next few months. Again, I'm hearing from people that they're having issues running ads at the minute. Ads seem to be getting flagged for being inappropriate or against community guidelines and that kind of stuff. And I do think there's probably just a tiny little bit of, again, the shift in the algorithms, the shift in the, kind of like the logic, if you like, is just creating a few problems that shouldn't be there. So again, it is a patience game, and you have to review things and, or, ask for them to be reviewed if there is a problem like that. Again, use live chat. If you've had something and you're getting a warning from Facebook saying that, your advert's not running and it's breaking this particular community rule and you can't figure out why, jump on live chat, tell us what the text is, and it might be that there's just some wording in it that we know can't get past that machine. But yeah, Mark came into the office a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking, and I to mention the fact that part of my downtime I spend scrolling through and looking at ads. So I actually, sorry, Mum, I don't look at what you're posting. And I'm looking for the adverts, like what are the trends we're seeing, what wording are people using that's sort of working particularly well. That this time of year I'm looking at all sorts of e-commerce brands, or some of the big high street retailers as well that I know are going to be having a massive push into online. I'm looking at their Facebook pages, looking at the information available, what adverts are they running, what creative are they using, what wording are they using. That counts as fun for me, which Mark had something to say about, of course. But it will be really interesting how much of a difference this makes to the creative element of ads going forwards. So it is a big change. It is a big change. Cool. So what we sorry,
we're not allowed to talk about the Netflix show you haven't watched yet, The Social Dilemma, are we?
I started watching it last night. I'm only about halfway through it.
Okay, that's one for another time, but it ties in quite nicely to what you're saying about Facebook ads. So homework for people. It's really interesting, if a little scary, The Social Dilemma on Netflix, but I'd highly recommend it. In some ways doesn't tell you things you don't know about how social media and Google use your data. But yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. So I wonder if some of the ads changes and the fact they're being so cautious is to do with the US elections. Obviously, they're really ramping up. It's the election next month there. So they're having to be super careful after the last election about political statements, basically. So it's, I guess, tying into it.
There have been over the last 2 years, actually, there have been so many updates and changes that relate to anything that is shared on social or advertised on social that has some sort of political bias to it. But we're also starting to see little things come through as well that will, things like if you wanted to share if you saw a link on Facebook, okay, and you see the sensationalized headlines and and some people they see the headline, they don't read the article and they hit share, okay, and across the platform, so not just Facebook, it's Facebook and Twitter mostly, they're starting to create little flags, if you like. So if you go to hit share or retweet, you'll get something it might be telling you that, okay, you want to share this article, but it's actually 5 years old. Or you want to share this article, you want to tweet this, but you haven't actually read it. Sure you don't want to read it before you share it with the world? And, and I think all of in the chat.
Emily's not looking at the comments, is she?
Can you put it up on
Facebook? All green. No, let's hope Chance doesn't get back into Danny's show. I've got something to say to you, Paul, but I can't say it on here.
So just to be clear, one of the main reasons we do this live every week is so that lots of people see me and Amanda out and about and on social, and when we're allowed back at events and speaking at meetings and that kind of thing. But we wanted people to be able to get to know Mark, Jane, and Emily as well. And I think that
the thing is, I say things sometimes and I don't think about them, and I full well know the difference. But no, I'm never going to live that down. I've had multiple things like that's happened to me in my life. Oh wow, what can you do? I'm easygoing, it's fine.
So what else have we got? Anyone got anything else to add? Anything new they want to pick up on that we haven't talked about already?
Best times to post. So there was a useful article out this week, and we're always getting asked, aren't we? I think probably all 5 of us. What's the best time? So 2 things. What's the best time to post on social media? What's the best time to send an email? And it changes. Obviously, it changes with the time of year. It changes if it's school holidays. Changes with the seasons. All the rest of it. Changes if you're in lockdown. So it really does vary. And also, there's no magic bullet completely. If you're going to put rubbish content out there, it doesn't matter if you post it at the magic time. Equally, if you're going to put amazing content out there and you put it out at 2:00 in the morning, it's not going to have the reach that you want it to. So there is some caveats in this, but you can, look at the data to say, okay, well, in theory, what's the best time? When are people most engaged? And your analytics, when you go into Facebook, for example, you can go into your insights tab and see when most people are online, what time they're online. So post your best content then. But I do think it's interesting to see what time is likely to get you most engagement. And at the moment, it tends to be between 10 and 11 a.m. So that's certainly true of so Instagram. I'm just looking at my notes because, again, this only came out this week. And obviously, there's a lot of platforms and times to remember. So Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter tends to be anywhere between 10, 11, 12. So, and my theory behind that is people will look at those platforms probably when they wake up, because, we all do. We all go and look at our phone, what's on the little red notifications. But we might not engage then because we're kind of now we're trying to get kids out the door maybe, or log on to our team meeting. around about mid-morning is when you've got, maybe you think, okay, I've got a chance to breathe. I'm going to make a cup of coffee. So I will check my notifications again, but this time maybe I'll have a little bit more of a dwell on things. I'll actually give something a like or a share or a retweet. So that tends to be a good time for engagement. Best days of the week, as you would typically expect, LinkedIn is better on weekdays. So again, it's kind of maybe not Monday, but Tuesday through to Friday, good times, less so Saturday, Sunday. Twitter all week is good. Again, less so Saturday, Sunday. So I think unless you're doing something maybe sporty, or kind of along those lines, then yeah, week time is better. So, but again, if you're on our Facebook page, I think we've shared it on our LinkedIn page as well. So I've put a link to the infographic, and it's a nice, easy to follow infographic that tells you the best times to post on social media, which should get you the best engagement.
Brilliant. So one of the things I would add to that as well is that right now is a really good time to look at those insights on Facebook and understand when your audience are online, and maybe sort of put something in your diary to check again at the beginning of November, because as we're kind of we're about to sort of go through the clocks are going to change at the end of the month, aren't they? We're getting back into that time of the year now where people's habits are a little bit different there, and it's a whole new world out there, isn't it? So yeah. It's going to be really interesting what effect that has on your stats. So definitely be looking at that now, because you're going to see those changes. You might have been posting at 7:30 in the morning and getting fantastic reach, and that's going to disappear, and people are very quick to blame it on the algorithms, and not actually think about, okay, what's the actual human behavior? We're not in the middle of summer anymore. Most people are, if they're, we're at the end of furlough now, aren't we? A lot of people are back in the workplace or certainly functioning on working hours rather than just sort of being in this kind of weird, almost holiday hour mode. So yeah, it's, human behavior has a lot to answer for as well. And it's so easy to just go, oh yeah, well, Facebook's cutting reach again, and not think about the fact that, well, no, it's just dark and miserable in the mornings and people are not as full of life as they were a few months ago.
And again, that may change. So me saying, 11 a.m. is a great time to post, that was absolutely true during lockdown. And bear in mind, some of this data that's been collected will include some of that period. So, whilst we might have been getting back to a bit more normal since September, with kids going back to school, August, July, even when kids should have been at school, they obviously weren't because of lockdown. So it won't be the same throughout. So as you say, we often talk about posting, regularly, consistently. So if you're going to send emails out, for example, same time, same day, every week. But if you're expected to do a similar post, so for us, live lunch now, everybody knows 12 o'clock Thursday, that's where we are. If we'd been doing like an evening thing, like a pub quiz, they've kind of fallen by the wayside. So you have to change kind of with what's going on in the ether, basically.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, guys, we are pretty much at time now. So I'll draw it to a close. There was one other thing I was going to bring up, but we'll save it for next time. And I hope
cliffhanger.
Tune in next time.
Ooh, I feel like we look do. That's the extended.
Oh, no, it's not. It was just about auto captions coming on Twitter audio tweets. I always thought it was something we could talk about. It's not that exciting.
No, you should have made it more exciting.
Yeah, it's not really worth the extenders rubbish in that attempt.
You guys that thought it was going to be, EastEnders worthy. Is anything EastEnders worthy?
Don't ask Jane. Jane loves EastEnders. Anyway. Before I say anything else,
so people that have joined us live, thank you very much, and we hope there's been a few things in there that you found of interest, and if not, we hope we've given you a little bit of entertainment. And we'll catch up with you again next week, Thursday, 12 noon, on the Green Umbrella Facebook page, the YouTube channel, and also over on my LinkedIn profile as well. We'll be live there. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.